Welcome to the Prince Eats. Check out this video with tips and tricks on how to create the perfect grilled cheese sandwich. Ingredients used in this video are in the description. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. The grilled cheese sandwich is an all-American favorite for both children and adults. I'll show you how to perfect it in this video. When you think about a grilled cheese sandwich, for many the first thing that comes to mind is the cheese. However, let's not forget the co-star of this show is the bread. There are virtually dozens of breads that you can use for a grilled cheese sandwich. You can choose from sourdough, baguette, ciabatta, potato, brioche, multigrain, or even white or wheat. What I have here is a classic brioche sandwich slice. It's a thick sliced bread with a soft center. Depending on how pronounced you want your bread to be in this sandwich should determine which bread you should go for. I recommend using one that is thick, however not so thick that the cheese can't melt. And if you're wondering what I'm slathering on this bread, that's mayo. I know many people use butter, and butter quite honestly is the traditional method for a grilled cheese sandwich. However, after doing this for a while, I realized that the mayo gives a much better, crisper texture than the butter, and the butter actually burns a little bit quicker than the mayo. The mayo generally has a much higher smoke point, and because it has eggs in it and oil, you get a much better color at the end of this cooking process. Arguably, you can use virtually any cheese for a grilled cheese sandwich. However, many will say the classic example is the American cheese, and I recommend using American for both flavor and texture. Now that the ingredients are out of the way, let's talk about the actual cooking process. When you're preparing a grilled cheese sandwich, you want to use a non-stick skillet, or as you see here, I'm using a cast iron skillet. As you can see here, my cast iron skillet is seasoned quite well, and that just comes from years of use. However, I still need to butter my skillet, and so should you. I recommend going slightly conservative with the butter because remember, after all, there is mayo on the bread. Bring your pan up to medium-low or medium heat, and when you're ready to go, place your bread into the pan, mayo side down. The mayo side on the pan is what's going to give you the dark and golden brown texture and color that you're familiar with in a grilled cheese sandwich. Immediately upon placing the bread onto the pan, you can go ahead and begin layering on the cheese. You might not think there's any rhyme or reason to layering cheese inside of a grilled cheese sandwich, and to be quite honest, there probably isn't any right way to do it. However, when you're creating a classic grilled cheese sandwich, you just don't want the cheese to be spilling outside of the sandwich. Now, of course, for visual effects, letting the cheese spill outside of the sandwich works great. However, for cooking, you want to make sure that you center the cheese as much as possible to allow the cheese enough time to spread as it melts and get to the ends of the bread. Once the sandwich is assembled inside the pan, really the only thing left to do is to press the bread down. What I like to do is use parchment paper to cover the top of the bread, and then place a second pan or cast iron skillet on top of that pan. Once you do that, don't touch it, just let it sit. The second cast iron skillet has enough weight to press down on these sandwiches to get even cooking on the bottom of the bread. And as you can see here in a moment, when I flip the bread over, it has perfect even cooking and coloring on the bottom, and there are no uneven dark spots that are generally indications of hot zones on your pan. As I mentioned, applying that second pan on top of the grilled cheese really is all the weight that you need in order to press the sandwiches down and get even color and cooking on the bottom of that bread. And the last step of this cooking process is reapplying the parchment paper and then placing the pan back over top of the sandwiches. And again, just let that pan sit. Generally, for soft bread, it should only take approximately 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes of cooking on both sides of the bread. And again, that's on medium-low to medium heat. Again, as you can see here, the bread comes out dark and even in color, which is an indication that there was an even layer of mayo spread at the beginning of the cooking process, and that pan applied just enough pressure in order to give even cooking across the bottom of these sandwiches. The cheese can harden rather quickly, but I recommend letting the sandwiches cool for approximately 1 minute before serving. And just like that, you're done. A grilled cheese sandwich at its finest. And after a few easy minutes and a few easy steps, you'll have a grilled cheese sandwich that is both delicious and looks pretty for presentation. And of course, the signature characteristic of a classic grilled cheese sandwich is the gooey and cheesy goodness. And to finish off this all-American meal, the last thing to do is to pour your favorite tomato soup. Enjoy. Visit theprinceeats.com and The Prince Eats on all social media outlets for more simple and easy meals just like this one.